All right. Hey, good morning, YouTube. Well, it's a morning. It's hump day. We may or may not have survived the election apocalypse, whatever you want to call it last night. Think looking pretty bad on this end as far as some of the results and expectations. I hope a lot of people out there survived a little better than we did, because it's things are ugly at this point. But there's your temperature map. Cold out west, warm out in the east. Definitely dipping a little bit cold up there in Montana. A little bit of snow coming in. Just saw from the radar. Get prepared for that. A little snow even in Nebraska right down the middle there. See how that goes moving into the rest of the week. I haven't seen any images of any blizzards or nothing, though. Not yet this time of year, and lots of snow in Montana. On over. But who we got checking in with us? Look, we're kind of vacant today. You have to wait for some people to check in here before we move on. But as bad as or as good as it seems like people try to talk up the national elections yesterday, the local level here was pretty disastrous. I don't know if any other states had similar results as we did, but bring it up. We can talk about it. We can compare who's got it worse. But we'll hang in here. As we the head topic Drudge says, seemed to be a lot of making light of the fact that Nancy Pelosi could be our possible Speaker of the House again, which is just bizarre. When I don't know how people could just take it as not a disastrous thing, but it seems pretty disastrous to me. Hey, Roger Wilco's checking in on the chat. Good morning. Yeah, Nevada went full stupid. Yeah. Yeah, I was going to get into that. Wait for some other people to check in here before we really delve into it. But yeah, the this that map alone lets you know how bad it is. When you get two big splotches of blue, and that's all it takes to elect these fools, you know you're in bad shape. Bunch of college kids in the north and a bunch of illegals in the south. What do you get? You get Jackie Rosen. Couldn't talk a way out of a wet paper bag. So yes, things are pretty bad. I'm looking at Wyoming property now. I don't think I could hang out here much longer. The Sleestack we elected as governor. I don't think people realize how bad he's going to be for the rural parts of the state. Very bad on down the line. We're basically a full blue state now. I don't know if all of these have been called yet, but all the way down, even this fool attorney general, all his victimhood status agendas and as part of his campaign doesn't bode well for what they're going to come out with. So yeah, Roger, I don't know which part of the state you're in, but it's not looking good no matter where you are. The red counties are going to be very isolated and very under fire, I would say. This says 16 of 17 counties fully reported. They've called most of the big races because there are, like you see, 4 percentage points difference. Cyrus did a video out of Clark County last night of the buses at polling stations bringing in union workers and probably illegals to polling stations. And you got to figure what kind of difference does that make in some of these results. And we went on down the line. It seemed like as far as here's what I was going to look at. Some of these ballot questions were tricky at best, but we got to make special rights for victim status. That was the first question on the ballot as far as state questions. We're providing tax exemptions, which isn't necessarily a bad deal, which you could just always lower taxes for everybody on everything. So providing special classes of victims again. We're not getting a competitive energy market. We're remaining a monopoly. Somehow that's supposed to keep prices lower, they say. Nevada Energy dumped $63 million into opposing that. I wonder what their opinion is. Yeah. We are exempting medical equipment from, what was that exactly? Exemption for medical equipment, other stuff. That one was kind of written weird. And then we had another question on registering people to vote when they go in the DMV. Here's a full-on measure to try to get illegals to vote. Automatically register when you go in the DMV. So definitely going full California here in this year's election. And somehow we're going to have a monopoly, but yet in 4 years require electric utility services have to generate a larger percentage from renewable energy by 2030, not less than 50% of their total amount provided. That is the last one. We're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So I guess Nevada Energy better get spun up. They got to start working on that. alternative energy, since they're the state monopoly, it's been reaffirmed. But I don't know if it could get any worse. There was what was the question? Is there a county question on the brothels deal? Was a big deal. Was there no? Everybody saw nationwide the Dennis Hoff thing. He's dead, and he won his Senate state assembly seat. But there was a question on the brothels too. Was it only one county? Or where they put the county questions? We're over here. Okay. But okay, I guess only one county had the question of the brothels. They're not going to shut down the brothels for everybody that was worried. That was a big one going nationwide too. But very otherwise very concerning. Anybody else checking in with us? Man, it's a slow Monday. Everybody checked in on Monday, and it looks like Wednesday's going to be dead. Nobody's commenting or nothing. But the Senate is going to be locked up red, and now everybody's going to get to fight each other and not get anything accomplished. Probably push through some taxes, probably get some more spending through so the Federal Reserve continues to prosper. Really don't see how this is going to turn out well for the next 2 years. Like, how's this going to benefit anybody? With saying the way they like to say it is it's a split house and causes gridlock. Everybody's happy because let's get accomplished. Well, really what happens is they just tax and spend more and we take the heat for it. That's the CNBC take on it, at least. Dow set to jump this morning. All the futures are up because everybody's like, well, if they're in gridlock, they can't get anything accomplished. So just continue to spend money to make everybody happy. Is really what it boils down to. And what we can expect, I believe, is just more taxing and spending out of this mess. But that's the futures market. Still waiting here, 5 minutes before it kicks in. The 10-year bond is slightly down, which is going to be the key indicator. But they're saying that the market's going to be happy, which is funny. We commented yesterday. They want to split government, so that's their angle. That's a good thing for the markets, but yet the last 2 years was good for the markets. So just goes to show you the government's not control the economy. It's just the Federal Reserve making this mess up as they go along. But if anybody's trying to catch up on some of the higher level races out of the election, since we pretty much didn't cover any of the election and any of the lead up, trying to focus on other things. But the communists got in place in New York, the crazy-eyed lady. They're all celebrating because she's the youngest woman ever. Like, that matters for anything other than disaster, because the ignorant trying to rule the roost. But she won, and the communists are out in full force in New York, and a full-on subversive Islamist won in Minnesota, of all places. And people wonder what forced migration gets you. The first Somali immigrant, her victory party focused mostly on the Palestinian flag and other things other than congressional issues or the American flag, it was pretty bad. You can't make it worse than it actually was, I don't think. Another one in Michigan. So being subverted from within. You can't get much for. Hey, Castaway, what's going on? Hopefully you're having a better day than we are up here. I don't know, when's your scheduled elections down there? Maybe we can pay attention a little bit and gain some hope, because it's not looking good up here. As much as people are trying to spin it a little bit, seeing that image is not going to be Nancy Pelosi taking in charge in January is not going to be what we need. And then at the local level here, we got it worse with some of our results in Nevada. California's full on ridiculous, and everything else. Castaway, you say, hope more people get red pilled now the true Democrats will be everywhere. Well, it's going to be spun, though. It's touchy-feely. It's good for everybody, though. That's the thing about it, Castaway. It's going to be propagated such as a good thing and spun in such a way that people aren't going to be able to say the difference. People that can't see the difference, it's there's just not enough. It's just a downhill slide. I don't see how Nevada recovers. The way we went, this guy we elected as governor is a full-on mob boss. You saw him in all the October 1 Las Vegas event press conferences. The guy's sleazy. I mean, he was stepping in there trying to get his face time for just this occasion to run for governor, and it pulled him through probably in a lot of ways. But he has a severe disdain for everything that exists in northern Nevada outside of Clark County. He has said it on many occasions, and he's going to be very bad for us. So I don't know what the rest of the country's dealing with, but I know locally it's kind of going to have a chilling effect. We'll see what kind of, how bad it actually gets. Castaway, you just keep changing prime ministers. So that means you just have a lot of turnover, right? You got a lot of competing interests in different parties. If we could get people to understand the third party, independent party, and constitutional parties and things like that, their agendas and their platforms, maybe people might get a third and fourth party around here and actually get rid of some of these Democrats and Republicans, but not around here. Not around here at all. We could use a little bit of divided government like you have more so down there, Castaway, you know? Hey, Billy Bird Outdoors is with us. Good morning. Did you survive over there as well? I know it's California's pretty much a lost cause. You had Newsom get elected, and they re-elected Maxine Waters, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So good luck in California, Billy Bird, because you can't go to Nevada because we've been overrun as well. So we can suffer together, I guess. Hey, Tommy Boy, what's going on? Good morning. Not too many people today. Everybody's burned out. We're just getting started. Now the hard part starts. What are you talking about, Tommy Boy? That's what I was talking about yesterday in the chat. It's like yesterday's easy. Voting is easy. It's the hard part after the fact or before that's going to get really ugly. And how we're going to fight this regime we're dealing with in Nevada is going to be front and center. Draysum, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Good morning. How you doing? 1.9 million people voted for a communist in the state of Georgia. Oh, yeah, that Abrams character, the Oprah Winfrey approved candidate. Yeah. Yeah, that was way too close. Billy Bird, what? You live out east? Why did I think you lived in? Who am I confusing you with, Billy Bird? I thought you lived in California. I thought you and Rooster hung out together out here. Never mind. I'm way off the radar. My apologies. Kentucky seemed to do good though. Everything I saw was like Kentucky was almost all red, and you get a lot of good candidates. Obviously, in your House candidates in particular, I remember. But kudos to you for surviving the night. Time Boy, she won't concede. Yeah, she said every vote will be counted. I saw her speech because it was like 11 something here and it was like 2 something there. And she did a speech and was like, we're going to count every vote and make sure every vote is counted and yada, yada, really playing it up, dragging it on. So I don't think, she's not conceding at all, even though it looked like there was about a 3 or 4 percentage point difference at the time with 99% reporting. I don't see how she would overcome that. I don't think it was statistically possible, but she's just an agitator at this point. Now, Time Boy's out there with you, Billy Bird. He's down in Chattanooga. I know where he's at, too. I just had you confused, Billy Bird. My bad. But Nevada might be getting in the news for all the wrong reasons with some of the shenanigans we got going on coming up. So I'll try not to drag it on too much on here, but we might have to focus on it a little bit. I'm really wondering what Sisolak's take is, or if he's going to go hard, how tied in he is with Harry Reid, the land issue, ranching issues. I mean, he could easily go hard after the Bundys in particular is a political statement that could come out of everything. That's a concern I would have up front on some of the things that happened out here. Definitely keep an eye on that, considering that pretty much all the offices up and down in the state government got turned hardcore leftist, for no other word, because they all ran on that kind of platform. There's no moderates in our state government that they just elected. So Oprah said so. Tommy Boy. Jeff Sessions castaway. I don't know why he would be toast. He works for Trump. I don't know why he would be toast. Well, I guess that the House could try to do some form of impeachment hearing, but still has to get through the Senate. They were talking about that last night, the whole idea that the Trump impeachment hearings, but that's going to be a sideshow. Everything the House does in this respect is just going to be a sideshow. I don't see how. I mean, they have to bring out some pretty serious evidence because there's no evidence now for any sort of impeachment or anything. So they go find the evidence. I guess it's possible, but it's not going to. The sideshow is not going to get through the Senate. I wouldn't think. It took 6 months to split Czechoslovakia. Why should Brexit take 6 years? That's a good question. Better yet, why would it take California multiple years? Just do it. Sydney's housing crash. Looks like they're reporting Australia's largest, most expensive housing market has declined 8.2%. There you go. It's a bad sign. We were talking about that about a month and a half ago or so. They're reporting on all the top 20 housing markets slowing down to go into basically devaluation of major properties in the big cities. That was going on. It's like Sydney's following suit or leading the pack, maybe. Yeah. Roger Wilka says he doesn't think Sessions survives past the first of the year. He would leave on his own or be fired by Trump. Oh, you think so? What exactly is Sessions doing to lead people that way, I guess? So yeah, Trump declared victory over that debacle last night. But he got surrounded by a bunch of socialists. I don't know how you win in that deal. Reciprocal probe if Dems launch more witch hunts. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Using the levers of the how would you use the FBI to investigate everybody and all their shenanigans? Well, let's check this out since we're on this kick today. So he treated Wednesday. So this is this morning. Democrats who have threatened to investigate him upon reclaiming the majority in the House of Representatives. If the Democrats think they're going to waste taxpayer money investigating us at the House level, then we will likewise be forced to consider investigation to them for all the leaks of classified information and much else at the Senate level. Two can play that game. Great. Yeah, the sideshow politics are going to get ugly. Here it looks like it's not it's a bad look when you got different branches of government just looking at throwing mud at each other and just trying to one-up each other on who's more corrupt than the other. So that's I guess you're going to get a do-nothing Congress and central government for sure, but that doesn't mean you're going to get anything effective. It's bizarre how baked in a cake it is already of who is going to be running these different committees, that there's no thought. It's always seniority. So this character who's going to lead the House Intelligence Committee told the Los Angeles Times he will revive the investigation of the so-called Russian collusion, vowing to go after Trump's personal business interests. Can't we just burn it all down? Maxine Waters is set to lead the House Financial Services Committee. Let that sink in for you. She'll be able to subpoena officials at financial regulatory agencies for testimony and other information. People in LA have lost their mind. How do you elect that woman who has no mental capacity whatsoever? How? And she has the power over the House Financial Services Committee, and you wonder why finances are so screwed up, or could get worse. The budget is going to be a disaster. So she had apparently Waters had a discussion, and the person asked her, "Well, what about Pence? If you're able to impeach, Pence will be worse." And Waters said, "Look, one at a time. You knock one down, one at a time. You knock one down, and we'll be ready for Pence. We'll get him too." So they are not scared of the orders of secession and the way it's set up. And then who's next after Sessions? Secretary of State. Is that right? Are they the third in order in line? Or does it go to the? Does it automatically default to the Speaker of the House in impeachment? Well, We'll have to look that up real quick because that would be, I guess that's one way to get Nancy Pelosi her 5 seconds of fame. Just impeach everybody ahead of her and put her in charge. Time Boy says the Guam Catholic Church has filed bankruptcy amid abuse lawsuits. There's no shock right there. There's no shock at all. Dow rallies 250 after midterm elections. Everybody's happy that a do-nothing government that's just going to spend more money. Everybody's ecstatic. Barry Wood, good morning. What's going on up there in the Northwest? Looks like you got a little snow hitting the mountains up there at least. Draysom, yeah, the communist takeover is here. Yeah, imagine how bad it would have been better to have the opposite result, and then things would have got violent because the Antifa would have came out of the woodwork, all the different subversive groups. Now they're kind of placated. They're kind of celebrating a little bit, I guess you'd say. I know there might be a local anecdotal contrary to that, but for the most part, they're probably celebrating. If they would have been different, I think they would have flipped out. And we still have the opportunity for that. Maybe we can burn all of this stuff down with this whole invasion force coming out of Mexico. Maybe if something goes hot there, then everything escalates across the country. Election be damned. I don't know if the House. Well, we got 3 more months until all this stuff people get put in place. So this invasion force could definitely still trigger something internally. I've hypothesized that if one of these people crossing the border gets injured or shot by somebody because they're rioting or because they're crossing at an illegal border point or something, like trying to sneak in, and somebody gets hurt from that group, that the internal subversive groups are going to flip out, especially in the big cities like Portland and all the other communist strongholds, for lack of a better word. I guess we really just have to start identifying them, that communist strongholds, because that's what they've proven themselves to be. Your MS-13s, your Antifa, La Raza, all those types are going to riot. I was saying, like, worse than LA if some of these invasion force people get hurt coming across the border. Don't even have to get killed, just injured. Just let the media report that they were injured by, especially if it's by the military. If it's by Customs and Border Patrol, probably wouldn't be quite as bad, but if it was the military, people would flip out, I think. But yeah, Draysom, it's definitely been scary. It's been scary for a long time. Being full on in enemy territory now here in Nevada is going to take some getting adjusted to. We're going to have to reevaluate how we live our lives, I guess, or what we can do to move on. Hey, Walter Davis, good morning. Did you survive last night? Yeah, Roger Wilco, thanks, Speaker of the House. I was not thinking right. I was thinking of that whole they do the designated survivor thing during big central speeches and meetings when they have whole Congress together for the president's speech. But yeah, you're right. Speaker of the House is the third in line. So that's the way you get Nancy Pelosi as president. Just impeach everybody. Makes you wonder, what has Pence done? What kind of dirt have they got on Pence, right? Good morning, Truth Freeze. What's going on? Maybe that's the deal, Tommy boy. That's the way they're keeping everything in line. Doing this to keep everybody in line, keep everybody a little happy, and keep them on medium boil, as Truth Freeze says up there. And that's the way to keep everything still heading in their direction, centralized control, but keep everybody at each other's throats without getting out of control. Yeah, yeah, Roger Wilco. I have a hard time saying that without stopping to talk, you know. But when you look at how do they have the map set up here? It's like if we can't take these states and tear them apart and deconstruct them, you know, Clark could go its own way and take the rest of these states and either form with the state of Jefferson. If we can't do something like-minded like that, like what's the purpose? Like, why would you continue to stay here and be dominated by Clark County with the increased regulation and taxes that are likely to come out of this, and the just anti-business, I guess, unless you're on the if you're on the down low and you're on the, you know, I can't even think of the word corruption's the top word, but nepotism and everything else involved. Unless you're on the inside crew, you're not going to be getting any. I'd be interested to see how Tesla handles this, because Tesla was definitely a sweetheart deal for the northern part of the state, and South didn't like that at all. And Sisolak has, again, he hates everything north of Clark County, literally. uh, how he's going to approach it. I mean, he's going to come in here and tear Carson City apart, I think. Truth Freak says we're about to get the perfect storm of a 50-50 polarized way. You talk about nationwide as a 50-50 polarization? I don't know if it's that perfect, if you say. It's not a 50-50 split, I don't think. There's way far too many people that think they're in the middle. You know? You have some polarization between states, especially when you consider the differences between New York and California when you compare them to, let's say, your Wyoming, North Dakota, Utah. But if you look at it as far as political power, it's worse. It's not a 50-50 split, I don't think. Yeah, vote Clark off the island. I wish they'd just vote themselves off the island. They want to be their own entity. Let vote and be your own entity. We don't care. If they had an initiative for Clark County to become its own state or join California, I don't think we would care. Be like, go for it. Like, you have these initiatives for California to split in 6 states. Like, please, Clark County, put that initiative up. Split off into your own state or try to get to join California. We please, by all means, do it. We wouldn't care. They think they're the center of the universe, but yet nobody will actually go forward with anything like that. Tenure is down still. So the rally is in full effect. Everybody's happy. New York Truth Free says New York needs New York City off too. Yeah, what's the likelihood of that happening? But hasn't New York City pretty much infected the surrounding areas as well? Kind of like Southern California? Or is upstate New York still somewhat salvageable? Drayson, they don't amend the Constitution. They just ignore it. I don't think we should be under any illusion there. They're not following the Constitution in any strict sense. They only loosely do it to keep people placated, especially when you talk about voting and some of the bigger picture things that the way the government functions. But in the details, they ignore the Constitution almost daily. Recount for Florida Senate, says Tommy Boy. Is that the DeSantis, or is DeSantis the governor? Florida. I didn't see anything about Florida. San Francisco approves a homeless tax on business. Tell you how far off the reservation that San Francisco is. Florida restore ex-felon. We'll see if we can get that. That's just a Vox. Yeah, somebody was commenting on that Florida felon restoration of voting rights thing. I mean, yeah, it seems like a lot of felons vote Democrat, but people should have their votes restored. I think that felons should have a lot of rights restored. Once you do your time, you did the crime. Absolute destruction of your rights doesn't seem legit. So I think this is, I mean, it has the unfortunate effect that most of them do seem to vote Democratic or socialist after the fact. But I don't know. We'll see how that works out. But where's the the Senate? It's Florida Senate, huh? Recount. So Georgia, their Senate are looking for a possible recount, and Rick Scott, the Rick Scott race. Okay, yeah, I remember seeing that now. And the other guy. Yeah, it's amazing some of the empty suits that you see running in some of these races. People with definitely no charisma, no. Yeah, they haven't called it here. This is NBC. Well, clicked on the wrong state. Rick Scott, Bill Nelson, 99% in. It's a 0.4% spread. Yeah, they're definitely gonna hold out on that one until they get everything. It's funny. 100% of the votes are these are county results on down the line, but they're waiting. So yeah, they're definitely gonna hold out on that. Sometimes there's an automatic recount triggered by how close it is. If it's on a percentage point spread, then they'll automatically recount. Same with that Georgia governor, it looks like. I think Georgia said last night doesn't have an automatic recount, but they can request a recount. .7% spread, 99% in. Truth Freeze says constitutional lawyers do not by design learn the Constitution. That is correct. Constitutional lawyers learn precedent and court cases and how to manipulate the system into their favor. They learn nothing about the Constitution. Just how they can manipulate it to their own agenda. So yeah, I took constitutional law course in college, and it was like, you kidding me? This is all we're going to talk about? It's about court precedent and what judges say. It has nothing to do with what the Constitution says. Marbury Madison is probably your first realization of that when you go right into that case. I don't know. Do we still have hanging chads, Tommy Boy? Is that thing dead now that mostly everywhere is electronic, and we won't even get into the possibilities of hacked voting with that mess. Where was I at here? John had a good chat last. Yeah, I saw you on there, Tommy Boy. Prepared mind. Had a good chat last night about all the electioneering going on, but then he cut out before Nevada had even reported anything. So NBC is calling it as a 2:30. Some places were calling that the Dems already had 235 in the House. But I think it's just a matter of formalities now in some respects. Yeah, Barry, were you in there too with John's chat? Yeah. I did not see Greg Hunter's live stream, Tommy Boy. I was too busy multitasking. I could only watch John's chat and do some other things. I couldn't do too much. I'm sure Greg's was awesome. I'm sure Greg had a good chat. He's always does full good coverage on stuff. Aaron Cox says he just got here. Info on the Nevada governor's race. We got the Sleestack socialist in charge. It's pretty cut and dry. Nevada went full on blue wave. We got swamped while the rest of the country kind of got unscathed. But we had Sisolak pretty much just rode Clark County to victory. And we were just commenting earlier, if you want to rewind my commentary about that, he's going to go full on. What he's going to do to the northern half of the state is just who knows. I could have different predictions, but he has been very outspoken about his wish to put the North in check, I guess you would say, would be a way to say it, where everything from businesses to schools to everything, taking just everything away from the northern half of the state, focusing on Clark County. He's part of that crew that wants to move the capital to Vegas, which it operates partially from there anyway. But old Sisolak, Sleestack's so appropriate too. I mean, he is got slime all over him. He's deep in bed with union bosses, the communists that come out of the woodwork at union events. He's in bed with all those people. He was front and center after the Las Vegas shooting. So, he's got entrails into the 3-letter agencies. It's just ugly. Very ugly. As you can see, this is the governor on this here on the NBC side. They got it as well. And it went on down Senate. The House is a 2-1 split, a 3-1 split, sorry. Very ugly. And the Republicans have no clue how to run anybody around here. It's terrible candidates. Laxalt was a terrible candidate. Tarkanian here in the House was a terrible candidate. He ran a terrible campaign because he's just not good. And then they got beat by empty suits as well. That lady that won the Senate in Nevada, Rosen, is about the most empty suit type of politician you can get. Tommy Boy says 2 hours left on counting the votes, and news channels are already calling everything. Yeah, they do it on projections, just like every year. Even though they say they're not going to do a repeat of 2000 where they call it too early, they still want to get it ahead of the game and try to keep their ratings up. And sometimes it is easy to call, but it just depends on the area, I guess you'd say, the state. Aaron, dang. Yeah, and it wasn't even particularly close. That's the scary thing, and that's why this map. Where'd it go? This map right here is still concerning because Clark County, you could take out Washoe if Washoe was a 50-50 split, because it wasn't even that far apart in Washoe County, only 7,000 votes difference. You could take that result out and even lean that red, and Clark County would still carry the whole state for these fools. So that's how deeply overrun Clark County is. I was talking to Tactical Tony last night. I'm like, you're so screwed, man. That place is a cesspool. It's like, yeah, that Washoe County difference is probably 7,000 is probably all college students. But Clark County is just overrun with the unions and the illegals and everything else. So it's definitely a bad, bad day. Draysom says electoral college should be applied at the state level. That's funny you mentioned that. States won't stand up for their rights. Several here in Nevada, we used to have state senators elected by a proportional basis based upon county, not population. And that was declared unconstitutional for some reason, even though it's a Republican form of government. And the state didn't stand up and tell the federal judge to pack sand. They just let it ride. That's one of our biggest problems is the rural counties now have so little voice, which they should have in the Senate at least, but now the Assembly and the Senate are basically the same split, electorally speaking. And it's just a fancy, the Senate in Nevada is just basically a fancy way to say the Assembly now, the way they got it split up. Aaron asks if any rhetoric pertaining to the Blue House in an Article 5 Convention of States. I have not heard anything about an Article 5. I don't think anybody's going to bring that up. I think that stuff is probably going to die. But yeah, I just don't see that carrying forward. There's not enough momentum because whoever brings it up, they're going to get enough resistance from the other side to not have that happen. Barry Wood says what Seattle wants to get, what Seattle wants, it gets here in Washington, even though the rest of the state is red. The biggest cluster of retards is Seattle. Yeah, and Oregon's the same way. The Oregon governor race was the same way. I was talking to the High Desert Tactical Trevor up there last night about that. And they had their governor's race, and it's just split. As you can see, this is Oregon House. That's the governor's race, right? Governor results. A few blue counties carry it all. That's the major blue Portland areas, Salem areas. Very similar to Nevada. All the rural counties just outgunned. You don't have like Drayson was saying, like kind of like electoral college breakdown. It's just direct democracy now. We're just sliding into that direct democracy instead of a Republican form of government. There's no account for land mass or that type of division. But Kate Brown got reelected. You got to give the guy credit that ran against her. It was going pretty good. I don't know what happened with that gun initiative in Oregon. I wonder if they have that on here. Repeal. So here's initiatives in Oregon. Repeal sanctuary cities. No. So you still have sanctuary cities in Oregon. Well, there was a ballot initiative to prohibit public spending on abortion went down. In Oregon, a couple of states did pass initiatives to prevent public funding of abortion. That I did see that last night. That was a positive. So at least the government's not helping kill people, at least in that respect. But where's happened to that gun initiative that was on the Oregon ballot? It's not on here. That's in it. It must have failed, or maybe it didn't even get to the ballot. Maybe it was behind the power curve, but it's not even on here for Oregon. Did Nevada show up on the initiative side? Because there were a lot more than just 3 questions on our initiative, so they're not putting them all up there even. We'll have to look more into that. Text Trevor and find out what was going on. Arizona KTAR News breaks federal election law. How does a radio station break election law, Tommy Boy? Were they electioneering near the polling site or something? Who's gerrymandering Truth Freeze? Who doesn't gerrymander? Some of these states break down. Nevada's not bad. Some of the western states aren't as bad, but you go to some of these eastern states. I know North Carolina's got some terrible breakdowns in the way these areas are. I mean, you look at this right there. It's like, what is that? And just the way some of these things are broken down. Like, this is long ways this way, and this cuts through here. I don't know. I consider that a little bit of gerrymandering. It's not appropriately broken down. Wacky Jackie says winging it Tracy, right? Yeah, we're stuck with her too, winging it. We're gonna get so steamrolled, like she's just gonna do the bidding of who's the senior Democratic senator? Goodness, I don't even know who that is. Who is the senior? Is it gonna be Feinstein? I know somebody was commenting how she was no, it was Dina Taxes that they were saying was in Pelosi's pocket, because Dina Taxes has always stood beside old Nancy Pelosi, so she's probably going to get a just reward going into different she's probably going to get very rewarded in the House once she gets back to work. Aaron Cox saying that's what he was thinking. It would be nice to put the thought of action of a Article 5 to rest. Right. The states aren't going to stand up for their rights. What good's an Article 5 convention if it's not going to go to benefit? It has to be very defined. There's not enough unity on pretty much any issue, I don't think, to have an Article 5 be successful. I think even our days of any constitutional amendments are probably dead for any in the foreseeable future until the communists gain, significantly more control, which is more likely than any type of freedom-minded agenda getting pushed. The way it looks now. Tommy Boy 2.3 FM in Phoenix mentioned names November 5th. You can't do that. Mention names what? Mention names that we're going to win? I don't understand mention what names on November 5th, the day before the election. What can't they say? What election law was broken? I guess that's a weird. You can't do that. I don't know what you can't do the day before the election. I mean, you can do all kinds of hypotheses. You can state who you support. I'm not following your logic there. Truth Freeze says a poll says healthcare is primary concern in nation, then immigration, then economy. I did see that a lot of the exit polls, they were saying that healthcare is why they voted. Since when has healthcare been? I mean, the last time healthcare was like even significant was 2014, when they were still trying to push repeal of the Affordable Care Act, and now it's just kind of died, and now all of a sudden it's a big concern, and nobody ran on healthcare. I don't remember that any. I mean, maybe in some other states people were running on supposed healthcare, but it wasn't the prevalent theme that I saw in any ads or anything. Tommy Boy says election of Prescott in Arizona. Who's Prescott? They still got the Arizona Senate too close to call. How do these fools? The Arizona is just bizarre. It's getting as bad as Nevada. They have McCain for all those years as a disaster, and then they have this cinema character and it's too close to call. 6,000 votes separating. 75% of the votes in, so that could get ugly. What are you talking about? Prescott. It's not a candidate. You're talking about Prescott, Arizona? Election meddling. I'm not following who Prescott is. Tommy boy. But I'm sure there was more than a fair number of meddling. Project Veritas had several tweets out yesterday or posts about different irregularities they found. There was Texas ballot issues. There was Texas polling station issues. There was some in Georgia that they reported on, different inconsistencies, people, polling place workers being taking inappropriate actions or saying that they were overlooking things that were going on inappropriately. Basically, illegal voting was going on. They were letting it pass, and they didn't care. So that's what's going on, folks. Oh, we're going to need to punch out of here. Hopefully we survive and recover from this today. Again, it's just a disaster out here in Nevada. I can't even tell you how bad it is, other than I'm thinking about moving to Wyoming. That's about as bad as it can get, because this is definitely a bad sign, as bad as this. I mean, I thought it would be, we would have issues, and there probably would be some of these down ballot people elected, but the margins that were done and the way it kind of all happened, it's like all the way down with these just avowed social justice warriors and socialists is very, very bad. And might just have to give up, because it probably ain't going to change anytime in the next 8 years or so. It's probably not going to reverse course with the way things are run and the way things are going to continue to be pushed. Everything's going to be continued to push to the south, and the north is going to shrivel up economically probably in the next 4 years or so, if these people have their way and what their stated goals are that they've already made clear is going to do that. Winging It Tracy says Pelosi's net worth was $29.35 million. Imagine what's going to get to now, Tracy. She's going to be bumping up to $50 million probably after this. Truth Freeze has survived the midterm so far. All 24 hours of it, right? All right, Tommy boy, we'll pack them up and get moving. We might have to cull before we move. We probably wouldn't pack up the animals. We'd probably have to cull off the herd before we moved. Have a big pig roast or something. So, but yeah, Winging It Tracy, we're looking in bad shape. I know you live down there. You know what it's like. I was telling Tony last night, it's just it's worse than I thought it was. It's a literal cesspool. And I was talking about Cyrus's video he did last night from the polling stations, the buses coming into the polling stations. It's like the machine is too big down there to be stopped now. The unions control so much. It's going to get worse. But all right, folks, I went too long. I hope you all have a good day, though. We'll further discuss our likely means of approach to get out of this mess in the future. But y'all have a good one. Oh, Wes S. checking in with us. Say, Wes, Tejas survived, I guess you'd say. At least you didn't get stuck with that Irishman posing as a Hispanic guy. But we're going to get out of here, folks. Have a good one. Live free.